For those of you who don't know me, my name is Adam Cooper. I'm the owner of Ascend Consulting. And I thought I'd start by just telling you a little about me and my company. So I was an electrical contractor for over 20 years. Had my own small shops, worked for some of the big national electrical contractors that are members here at the IEC, like Power Design and Faith Technologies. I was in project management, senior project management operations roles for them. And then I got involved with the IEC back in 2006 when I joined Power Design. They were a member, and I used to come to the meetings as the representative for Power Design. So I've known Niall and Todd for probably 10, 15 years now. Always got a lot out of the IEC. And when I started Ascend Consulting, I started out, first thing I did was I joined the IEC as a partner. So I started my company in 2014. I was finishing up some large projects here in town. Hey, Carlos, good to see you.
What's going on, Adam?
Good to see you, buddy. I was looking for something else to do to work in the construction industry, but I was kind of burnt out on being a PM, so I started my consulting business, and I've worked with at least a couple people in this room as a consultant and helped them kind of tune up their businesses, find ways to improve efficiencies, become more productive, make more money, upgrade systems, technology, even help with marketing at times. And we've recently even done some recruiting assistance for some of our clients. At this point, over the last 6 years, we've worked with over 50 companies across 12 states. About a third of our clients are electrical contractors, and at any given time, about a third of our clients are right here in Metro Atlanta. But we work with clients coast to coast: California, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New York, the Carolinas, Florida, Texas, just kind of all over the place. And most of our clients find us through our website online. If you want to learn more about what we do, I'll talk a little bit about the end about how we're currently working with some of our clients. And you can always go to our website to learn more. So today's topics that I told Niall I would like to talk about are emerging industry and sector trends, some potential challenges and opportunities that we're working with our clients on, and some tactics for protecting your profitability on projects. It's been a weird 6 months. Nothing like it I can remember, and I've been in the business since the 90s. Closest thing was the meltdown in 2009, but that was kind of a gradual meltdown, and this has been, it's kind of like everybody slammed the brakes on, bucked the car, and then kind of pop started it to try and get it going again 3 months later. So just talking some generals, I did a talk last week for another group, and I just talked about the first topic, which is emerging trends. So some of the stuff we're seeing across the country right now, backlog completion is outpacing new sales, which means you're finishing work quicker than you're getting new work. It's not like there's nothing coming in, but it's not coming in as fast as you're finishing. A lot of repricing activity is going on right now, so a lot of things that were either about to go in Q2 or you just signed a contract maybe, they put the brakes on it, and now they're coming back, they're wanting you to tighten up your number. A lot of that is being driven by the finance guys. The finance and the people with the money, the banks, are trying to shop for a better number now. There's a little more risk on them, so they're trying to hedge their bets and get a little better number. We're hearing anywhere from 5 to 10% is what subs are being impacted with. GCs are, having to aggregate all this and go back to the table, but it's not really being driven at the general contractor level. It's really being predominantly driven at the finance level. In fact, I talked to a client last week, had signed a contract beginning of March. Before they even got mobilized to the site, the GC stopped the job, the owner and the GC stopped the job, and now they've exercised their termination for convenience clause in their contract. And there's no payoff because they never mobilized. They never even put in submittals. So it was just a clean, cut your contract, and now let's go back and talk again, or if you don't want to negotiate, we'll put it back out on the street. So that's a big challenge, and I'm seeing that all over the place right now. It's definitely shifting to a buyer's market, which means the bankers and the guys with money have control, and they are pressing down on the GCs and the subs to tighten their numbers. And Danny, you and I were just talking about this. There's material escalation across the board, not just in electrical. We're hearing it in lumber, steel, gypsum. Everybody's prices are going up. Danny, what were you saying? You're seeing 15 to 25%?
Usually on pipe and wire. And the biggest thing too is shortages in the marketplace. I think everyone's probably had switchgear issues over the last few months. I don't know if it's getting better or worse, but
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later. By the way, this is an interactive session. If you guys have something you want to ask or something you want to add, stick your hand up and contribute to the conversation. I don't like to just be up here monologuing for 30 minutes. Gets a little boring hearing my own voice. So if you guys have stuff to offer, speak up. Some other things we're seeing right now, interest rates have stayed low. Money is available, but investors are being cautious overall. That's why there's not as much coming out to the market right now. It's a lot of pricing, a lot of repricing. They're getting their numbers tightened up. What we're also hearing is that schedules aren't getting any longer. We know that it's going to take longer to do the work because of all the safety protocols, but they are holding the same or even trying to tighten up schedules. They want to get a better number in less time at the same time. So risk is increasing across the industry, and it's being pushed down the chain. The owners are trying to push it down on the GCs, and the GCs are definitely trying to offload it onto the subs. Production is down about 10 to 20% today due to the safety restrictions, social distancing requirements, all the kind of more time it takes to get onto the site, the more time it takes to move your material around, tighter delivery windows. So we're hearing across the board 10 to 20%. And I was actually online doing a little research at 11 o'clock last night just to check that number and found some stuff that backed that up on a national level out of the AIA. Material prices have escalated for many trades, as I said, not just electrical. Unemployment assistance ended in July, so trade workers starting to go back to work because they weren't making more to sit at home, which was good for our jobs, but wasn't great for our jobs in June and July. We had trouble making production a lot of times. And there are and will continue to be companies that will not survive this year. It's just a harsh reality. Businesses are going to fail because of this. They weren't well positioned. They didn't have cash reserves. They didn't have a line of credit. They bit off more than they can chew, just a variety of reasons, but businesses will fail. So let's talk a little bit about the economics and the sectors that we're seeing trends in right now. So everything is depressed. There's certain sectors that are staying depressed or declining. There's certain sectors that are actually starting to rebound. No surprise, retail and restaurants is way down. It doesn't look like it's coming back in this year. Assembly areas, churches, concert halls, stadiums, all that stuff is slowing down, being put on hold, going back for repricing. Hotels, of course, hotels are having trouble just making minimum occupancy right now. So if it wasn't already in progress, we're hearing they're not starting any new hotels this year. And then multifamily in urban locations, so in the cities, is slowing way down. On the plus side, there's a lot of areas that are improving, that are rebounding, that are starting to pick up speed. Healthcare. Healthcare actually got a jump when all this started. There was a lot of temporary facilities, ancillary areas, annexes, stuff like that jumped in. Some of the big hospital work had to stop. They didn't want work going on in treatment areas, but they diverted it to other buildings that they were converting. And what we're hearing now is that some of that work is starting to finish up. So GCs and their subs have some more capacity to take on more healthcare work. So there's more healthcare work in the pipeline. Single family homes, way up right now. The demand is going up. We're working with a multifamily and single family home electrical contractor right here. And he's telling us that his main customer, who's a national home builder, is looking to double volume in Metro Atlanta. They're going to try and build close to 3,000 homes in 2021. And that's just one builder, which is double what they did in 2019. People are trying to get out of multifamily. They're trying to get out of the urban centers. They're trying to get out of the cities now. They're fleeing to the suburbs. They want more space. A lot more people are working from home these days, and they're going to continue to work from home. It's another big trend we're seeing is people have gotten used to working at home. They're comfortable working at home. Their boss is comfortable with them working at home. They've learned how to be productive at home. So they're actually looking for single-family homes with extra bedrooms they can convert to home offices. This is just going to be an ongoing trend, we think, for the next 2 to 3 years. Infrastructure, civil, highway, public works, that stuff has not really slowed down. There was a little bit of a hiccup again in Q2, but we're hearing a lot of activity in that sector. Federal and government, the government never stops spending money. There's always opportunities with them. They like to spend a lot. We'll see how that goes in the future. I will say one of the things we're hearing everywhere, and Al, you can probably back me up on this, is the markets hate uncertainty, and nothing really is going to happen for about 65 days, 64 days. I'm trying to do the math in my head, but nothing real is going to happen until after the election. Solar is very busy right now. We have a client in Connecticut that's a solar company, and we were just on a call with them this morning. They've got 12 projects they're bidding that are in a package that are getting individual pricing, and then there's a lot price with a discount if they give them all 12. And that's just one of 4 opportunities that came in this week, and it's only Tuesday. So that came in over the weekend for them. So we're hearing this across the industry that there's more estimates coming in than people can handle. Stuff that's coming back from repricing, stuff that was bottled up in Q2 that's now come out into the street. People are going for budget numbers, they're going for second numbers, going for third round numbers. Everybody's fighting to get their prices locked in. So we're hearing a lot about that. Data centers and e-commerce, remodel work, K through 12. Can't put as many kids in the classroom right now, need to have more safety protocols. A lot of K through 12 work going on. Grocery stores. You know how many people went to the grocery store in March? Like everybody in the United States went to the grocery store in March because you couldn't get to a restaurant. Grocery stores are picking up. Multifamily, as we said, in suburban locations is still going strong. I was talking to a developer friend of mine last week. They're getting ready to break ground by the end of the year on 4 multifamily properties out in the suburbs. They've had them on the books for about 3 months, and they're planning to let them loose by the end of the year. And then daycare. Surprisingly, the opposite of what you'd think, people still need daycare, and you can't put 60 kids in a daycare anymore. You can only put 30. So daycare needs to double their capacity. So we have a client in Texas, it's a general contractor that does healthcare and daycare, and they told us they got 3 new daycare projects in Texas in July. So there's the sectors that have opportunities in them. We're going to talk a little bit later about what sectors you're in and how you could, maybe it's a slight pivot to get into some of these. And I bet you if you're working with general contractors, they're already seeing this too. So they're starting to pivot. So getting aligned with your GCs and your developer buddies. Rebounding. Construction economy lags the national economy. So economic rebound will probably not begin until after the election. We've seen a little bit of a bounce, which was to try and get back to where we were in February. But the markets hate uncertainty. The stock market's going to kind of level off in October. It usually does, right before an election. People start pulling their investments out, converting to cash, they're hedging their bets. And then November 5th, everybody knows what's going to happen, and things kind of get back to business. So we're hearing economic rebound for the country probably won't start until November, December, and construction really won't start picking up speed until next year at the earliest. The election is going to determine a lot of that. Just kind of depends on which way it goes. And that's for not only the presidential election, but the congressional swing in the House and Congress. So let's talk about some of the challenges and the opportunities that we're hearing about from our clients. So potential challenge that we're hearing a lot, as I mentioned, is a flood of estimating activities reported for both new work and repricing. Is anybody here experiencing that? Like excessive amount of estimating work coming in the door? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Yeah. Are you getting more repricing from old projects, or are you getting more new projects in? New? Both? Would you say it's coming in faster than it was in February?
Honestly, estimating never slowed.
Okay.
It kept pretty steady and just kind of continued to pick up pace as this has been ongoing.
Okay, that's good. We had some people that let them came in like April, and then by May, they were starting to get overwhelmed. So one of the risks that we're hearing from our clients, they're asking us, should we just start bidding everything we can? Should we just start going after everything because we don't know what's going to go forward and what's not? There's a lot of risk in that. There's a lot of risk in taking projects at a reduced price just to keep people working, to make your overhead. You wind up rushing the estimating process and making mistakes. You could wind up getting engaged with contractors who are slow to pay, which is worse than having a contractor with a low margin, is low margin, and they take you 60 to 90 days to get paid. They could be new opportunities you don't have to establish a relationship with. There's lots of things that can happen. Material escalation can happen between the time that you price it and the time it gets awarded. So if you're not putting expiration dates on your bids, that's a good strategy to hedge against that. But there's some opportunities in there. There's some opportunities to go talk to your vendors, see if you can get commitments early on, like partner up with them. I know Danny, hell, when I was at Power Design, we used to partner up and commit to doing 3 or 4 projects with you guys at World just to lock in a negotiated price on commodities. I don't know if that's still available, but I haven't heard anybody saying it's not.
It is, depends on everything about it.
Yeah. You know, your vendors are here to work with you and support you. If you're not winning work, they're not making money either. There's a whole relationship there that if you're not already at least exploring it, you could be missing out on some opportunities to help fix that pricing. You know, as an electrical contractor, you have 2 basic ways to improve your profits on a project. Overhead costs, like you're keeping your lights on and stuff, are fixed. Rental equipment costs what it costs. You got two opportunities really. It's material and labor. Labor's your biggest risk and can have the widest swing. Material, if you play the cards right, can get pretty fixed. If you don't play your cards right, it can escalate on you. If you're not watching it on site and there's a lot of waste, you wind up spending more on material than you wanted. But those are the 2 that you really have the most control over, is labor and materials. Why not try and take care of at least the front end of it by working with your vendors? You know, exclusivity contracts, like talking to Danny, I'm going to keep plugging you because you're the only vendor here I see. But talking to Danny and, huh? What? Oh, well, here's 2. You got a choice now. Well, I haven't done business with you, but I spent $20 million with Danny in the 2000s, so. Yeah. Put me back in, coach, and give me another couple Georgia Pacific jobs. You know, talking to these guys and trying to work out a relationship with them can help you locking in, you know, guaranteeing them that if you win these jobs, they're the only one you're going to give the work to. If you can negotiate pricing up front to make you more competitive. And then the other thing is, you know, commodity stuff, as Danny said, there's scarcity issues. They're running out of stuff, especially if it's from China or India or Mexico. So if you have the capacity to stockpile, you know, 20, 30,000 feet of MC or a bunch of boxes and mud rings and plasterings, commodity stuff they use all the time, fittings, pipe, if you have the opportunity to buy it now at a discounted rate because you'll buy it in bulk, get the order in and buy it before you need it. If you're planning on playing the long game, that's an opportunity as well. If you guys got any other strategies for this? We'll get to some other stuff later. All right, another one we're hearing about a lot is labor shortages, especially if you're bidding all this work and you're thinking about what happens if I win this all? I'm going to try and staff all this work. You know, do you have enough labor to stay on schedule with your general contractor and thereby risk, if you don't, risk getting defaulted, put on notice, liquidated damages, that whole mess of the world that we don't want to get into. But these days, schedules didn't change during the shutdown. You got a finite amount of time to finish these jobs once they restarted. Most contracts did not have a force majeure clause in there that was inclusive of a pandemic. We never even thought about this stuff. What was it, 100 years ago we had the Spanish flu? Stuff didn't even, nobody thought about this stuff. There's a few big contractors that had in there. We heard Skanska had stuff like that in their contract. But, you know, if you're not able to keep up with the production rate on the job site and the GC can prove it's you, he's going to push it. He's going to push it down on you guys. So the other problem with being short-staffed is you start taking on less, we'll call them less talented individuals. You know, the people that got fired from the last job when they needed to cut 10%, that's who's available. So that slows down production, reduces quality, causes go-backs, rework, all that stuff that just eats away at your labor. Talk about controlling your labor costs. You can't afford to have bad workers on your job anymore either. You can't carry them, not right now. And then the other thing is you have star players. These are the great guys, the guys you can't imagine doing the work with, and your competition knows you have them. They're out there shopping too. So if they've got more cash reserves than you, they're going to try and potentially steal your best people away. It's you know, everybody's fighting for survival somewhat at this point. There's so much uncertainty. So what we're telling our people to do, our clients to do, incentivize your good workers. Find a way to reward them for a job well done. We've actually designed some incentive and comp plans for some clients in the last 3 months just to help make sure that they're taking care of their best people, their project managers, their lead superintendents, those guys you don't want to think about doing without. Find a way to cut them in on the action a little bit. It doesn't have to be a lot to keep these guys really happy and let them know how much they mean to you as an owner and as a company. Training and continuing education. You guys have virtual education now. Get these guys back in there for CE. Pay for their CE credits. Send them back to a refresher course. You know, heck, I took the couple of the CE classes this year online with y'all, and it was actually kind of fun. There was more interaction, I thought, than sitting in the classroom. So keeping these guys, keep investing in them, letting them know how much you care, getting them more skilled at what they do. And then, you know, the biggest thing you can do is start getting some training and some skill. Start flexing your muscles in labor and resource management and planning. You know, if you've never put together a 6-week look ahead with manpower resources for the entire company, it's an interesting exercise, trying to figure out how many guys do I need on every job every day of the week for the next 6 weeks. When you got one job, it's kind of easy. When you got 6 going on, and they're all at different points in time, or they're all ending around the same time, you start getting a sense of where you need to be, how much work you need to win, how much work to estimate, what the pipeline needs to look like. It becomes a decision factor in what are you going after to fill that backlog, or how do you know when you're reaching capacity? How do you not stretch your people too thin? Tom, I know I've talked with you and Russell about this a few times. I know you guys do a tremendous amount of forecasting and labor planning. I think it's probably one of the things that's made you guys such a successful and long-term contractor is the amount of planning and foresight you guys, at least trying to look into the crystal ball, right? The best you can. We found that, you know, 3 weeks is doable. 6 weeks is kind of the limit of what you can see. After that, it really is kind of hocus pocus, crystal ball. What do I think I might see? But, you know, at least a 3-week look ahead would be a starting point. Try and figure out what you're going to need for the next 3 weeks, and then update that every week. Just continually looking out another week, another week, another week. If you get some idea of what you're looking at, past that, start putting it on there. It's a simple spreadsheet. We actually have one on our website that you can download for free. If anybody's interested in that, shoot me an email. It was part of a blog post I wrote a few years ago, but you can download a sample spreadsheet we built that's out there for everybody. What else are you guys seeing? What other challenges are you seeing right now in your business that you weren't expecting to deal with this year?
The rebidding process. I've been noticing it's like every other job that we have forecasted that we're going to be closing contracts. No, they want to rebid it out, and you know, it's like, oh man, you know, we thought we had this in the game here.
Yeah.
You know, so it kind of ruined us a little bit. So, but you know, take it as you go. Keep on bidding out.
Now, are they putting it back out to everybody, or are you getting down to like top 3 or?
That's the only thing.
Okay.
You know, this industry is kind of dirty, so. But
Yeah.
I would think they've already got a handful of contractors that they're trying to get the lowest numbers possible.
So one of the things we were talking about, I think I made a glanced over it, is strengthening relationships with GCs and owners to reduce competition. So if these are companies you've done business before with you, Carlos, are you are you calling them up and having a conversation? Like, what do I got to do to win this job? Like, I don't want to keep repricing this. Is there anything I can do to get it over the finish line today and lock it in? And having that conversation.
I think it's more the owners.
Okay.
I think that's the behind the scenes, it's more the owners trying to just squeeze as much as they can out.
Gotcha.
And with lumber going up, right? Lumber prices are jumping out the border there also, so.
Yeah. I mean, we're hearing everywhere.
That's kind of what I'm seeing too. I've got a project that we've been chasing for a while, and we kept saying they were gonna turn it loose. Was actually fixing to get started on it, and, then COVID happened, permitting issues came up. So the owner's taking that issue because some parts of this job are gonna be issued as change orders, phases, the different phases.
Yep.
So the owners used this issue to get them all priced up. Got them all priced up. It was between me and one other contractor, and just found out last week. Now the job is on hold. So there's, and I know you say healthcare coming back. I do a ton of healthcare work. I'm not seeing it.
You're not seeing it here in Atlanta yet?
No. I've got $3 million worth of Emory work that's still on indefinite hold.
Is it at their main campus?
Main campus and out
Okay.
areas. Most of it's main campus,
Okay.
but they're empty. You know, everybody talks about how they've got all these COVID people. I've got 5 guys that are normally in there doing work orders,
Mm-hmm.
and they get overtime. I'm down to 2, and they're barely getting 40.
Wow. So we're here in Grady. In fact, I have a friend in the office interiors. Grady's coming out with a whole interiors package for a whole new project. They're supposed to let it loose by the end of the year. So there's going to be a big Grady expansion coming in 2021. We're hearing that's in design right now. And then I also heard about Piedmont. You know, they just finished Piedmont Hospital expansion. Our office is like a half mile from there, so I've watched the skin go on and everything like that. That's starting to get occupied. And then I heard that now Piedmont's getting ready to do out parcels around town in 2021.
I had a Piedmont MOB on the indefinite hold.
Okay.
in Newnan.
Have they told you why it's on hold? Is it in city of Atlanta?
Piedmont was gonna take up 2/3 of the building as the occupant. They're not gonna do that now. So the building owner, it's a kind of a weird deal because the building owner was gonna lease the land from Piedmont. It was gonna be on Piedmont property, but he was gonna be the owner of the building. And then he was gonna turn around and lease the tenant space back to Piedmont doctors and what have you. So now it's on indefinite hold because Piedmont don't wanna sign the lease on 3 floors.
That makes sense. I mean, it seems like what we're hearing is everything they're doing is their control. It's their development group, not a third party. But that's interesting. I hadn't heard about that. Thanks. Is anybody else seeing stuff like that? Tom?
Well, I just wanted to go back to your comment about asking GCs what do you got to do to get this job, and a philosophy that we held dear to and maybe you might want to consider, but if they do it for you, they're going to do it to you, and it's principle. So you got to be careful with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, agreed. I think
Just the best way to play it clean, be straight up,
yeah,
all the way, every day.
yeah. I mean, a little bit of transparency goes a long way with those guys, doesn't it?
At the end of the day, you win.
But the good thing is that we've been noticing a lot of upcoming projects that the plans are not 100% there, so we're assisting with the BE design and stuff like that. So we see stuff that's coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, that's good.
But the question is when.
When, right? And that's what we're hearing is that finance guys aren't going to really start spending till after the election. So you might be getting in. It's great that you're able to do that VE that gives you a stronger relationship with the GC, stronger relationship with the owner. You're providing some value up front. Hopefully it's not a ton of work. It's not free-con. It's pre-con. But yeah, I mean, we're looking for any way. We're telling our clients, and Tom, some of our guys are in that 3 to 6 million range, and we're telling them, like, if there's a relationship there, use the relationship to get some inside information, find out what the owner's doing, take these guys to lunch, bend their ear, get the inside scoop. Who else is pricing this? Do you know what number they're looking for? Do you know what they're trying to shave out of everybody's number? Any type of insight like that can help you figure out really what you're saying is whether you actually want to go get it or not. If they'll tell you you got to knock 10% off, you don't want to knock 10% off, then maybe you stop wasting your time pursuing that opportunity. Go after something that's got more potential. It's a precarious world we're living in right now. And I think, Tom, you said it best, you got to be smart about this stuff. You can't go chasing it because it's shiny. It's got to have some substance to it. Those relationships will really, hopefully, they'll help you figure out where the real opportunities are, and what's somebody just kind of testing the waters and they're not ready to spend yet. Al?
One indicator of what's coming up is what's called the Architect's Billing Index.
Mm-hmm.
Just looking up to see what the latest one was. It's still on the decline, but the rate of decline is less. So maybe we'll see some upticks coming up.
What's the number today?
What I saw here was 33.
By contrast, what was it 6 months ago, Al?
Anything
homework.
below 50 is rough sled.
Yeah. We're giving out for now on the spot. We're going to test his Google skills. What was it? Did you look it up?
Sorry.
Did you look it up? What it was 6 months ago?
No, I
Oh.
didn't see it here.
Gotcha.
It's probably a whole lot better.
But it was worse in July, wasn't it? Down in the 20s? Yeah. Yeah. That is a great. Thank you for pointing that out. That KPI is the Architect's Billing Index. So let's talk about strategies that rarely work. This is just kind of some common knowledge. Hopefully it's common knowledge. Replacing a few high margin projects with a lot of low margin projects to cover overhead rarely works. It's a short-term gap solution to supplement valuable high value projects with low ones, but it's not a long-term strategy. Bidding everything that comes in the door is a recipe for disaster. You are more prone to making mistakes. You have more competition when it's just stuff that's coming in off the wire. And God forbid you win it all, how are you going to actually perform it all? One of the things we've worked with our clients over the last 6 to 12 months on is coming up with an opportunity evaluation system. What are 10 questions you should ask about every opportunity that comes in, and what's the answer to that question worth? And you have to get a minimum score for it to qualify for you to actually pursue it. And there can be some higher value things, like it's a client we work with all the time, can have a very heavy weight, or it's out of state in a place that we don't usually work, can have a very high value as well. It's a way to kind of put a bunch of questions together, assign them a scoring system, and evaluate opportunities. So having something objective like that, instead of just a gut feeling about what you should go after or not, is a great way to start figuring out where the opportunities really are, what's suited to your business, and where you should be, which you should be pursuing, estimating wise, pipeline wise. A strategy that rarely works is putting off tough decisions. Rip the Band-Aid off. I'd rather have a little bit of pain and consequence now than a lot more pain 3 months from now. As a general contractor, a friend of mine taught me years ago, he said, bad news rarely gets better with age. So if you have tough decisions to make them now, whatever they are. Dropping out of an area, dropping a client, getting rid of a low-performing employee. I actually am reading the biography of Elon Musk, and he has a thing about bad employees. He goes, if you hold on to somebody for longer, from the day that you thought you might have thought about firing them to the day you actually do fire them, that's how long you paid them to suck at your company. He's kind of a brutal guy, but he's also one of the most successful people in the world. So with a grain of salt, I like some of his philosophies. Failing to plan for best and worst case scenarios. So if you're gonna, frost the cake, think about all the lemons you had to squeeze to make it too. Think about what could go wrong. It's kind of living in that worst case scenario world. What happens if we lose this client? What happens if we don't win any projects for a month? Play those worst case scenarios out so you're at least prepared for them. Hope for the best and plan for that too. What if we win all this work? How are we going to staff it? How are we going to How are we going to supply it all? Do we have the cash flow for that? Just worry about all of it. You got to think about the full spectrum. Al, I see you nodding your head. And then don't just hope things will get better. Hope has never been a strategy that was a long-term success. It's a harsh reality. Don't lose hope, but don't use it as the foundation of your business strategy. Let's talk about some strategies that typically work. Maximizing relationships with great customers. More value you provide, the tighter you get with them. They're just like friendships. The more you put into a friendship, the more you get out of it. Same is true with your customers. You know, in my own business, in our consulting business, when this all happened in March, we were lucky to have some big customers that we were already working with. They sustained us for 3 months till people started getting us engaged on bigger projects again. If it wasn't for those great relationships we had and us continually providing above and beyond what they had already hired us to do, you know, I don't know if we would have survived the whole thing as easily as we did. But, you know, our clients we were working with on a certain initiative, and this all happened, and they said, we need some help over here. Can you help with that? And we said, of course, whatever it takes to make them more successful, because if we're making them successful, they're helping us be successful. Make those tough decisions early. Use credit smartly and wisely. Don't borrow just because you can. Borrow when you need to. And have a plan for paying it back. Even if it's a 3-year plan for paying it back, put a plan together for paying it back. Plan and forecast 6 to 12 weeks in the future for at least materials, labor, and cash flow if you can. Cash flow, you know, you should be able to project your billings and when you're going to collect on them. Right now, that's at least a 45 to 60 day window. If you can project next month's billing and when that'll hit the books, that would give you at least a 3-month revenue forecast. And then you can tie that in with AP over time. It's one way to think about just trying to get a sense of what's your cash flow going to be. Diversify into similar sectors. So if you're already in commercial work, I have a list of sectors that we're seeing action in. If anybody wants a copy of this PowerPoint, I'll send it to you after this presentation. And then align with the demand of the market. Listen to the market. Don't, just because you're good at multifamily, don't plant your flag and say, I'm only going to do multifamily work. If there's an opportunity to make a ton of money doing single family homes because they're going to double their capacity next year, don't let pride stand in the way. Go after what the market's asking for. Be responsive to the market. Tom, you look like you had something to say and then you put your mask on. No. Let's talk, and then, you know, I know we're coming up on 1 o'clock, so I'll just kind of wrap up here. Just a couple of things we're working on with our clients right now, what they've hired us to do. Downsize staff to a core group of high performers. So employee evaluations, helping them make those tough decisions. Helping them determine what technology to invest in to make them more accurate and efficient. That includes estimating software, accounting software, project management software, things like Procore or CoConstruct and bolt-ons. You might have heard of Bolt. That's a new one we're just getting familiar with now. We've worked with over a dozen ERP softwares, so they're coming to us to help make some good decisions. We've been developing incentive programs, as I mentioned, fine-tuning estimating processes, getting people off of spreadsheets and into estimating software, or taking their estimating spreadsheet and helping to fine-tune those formulas, give them new ways to think about things. Investing in strategic marketing. We're actually doing, we got a lot of marketing work in Q2. People said, I want to be prepared to go out and market myself in Q3. So they had us doing a lot of marketing back